Now ahead 45 to 38 over Trump in the latest four-way poll. That's a 7-point margin. It's up from 2 points last week. In the head-to-head matchup, Clinton leads 49 to 41. The 8-point advantage is double the 4-point lead last week. The new polling comes as Donald Trump continues his unshackled effort to save his embattled campaign. And today, the GOP nominee has come out swinging against the most recent claims of improper behavior toward women. Senior national correspondent John Roberts is with the Trump campaign tonight in Cincinnati.
These vicious claims about me of inappropriate conduct with women are totally and absolutely false. They're pure fiction and they're outright lies. These events never, ever happened.
In the past 24 hours, 5 women have come forward to say Trump touched them inappropriately. One, a People magazine reporter who claims Trump made unwanted advances at Mar-a-Lago. Another, a photographer's assistant who says Trump grabbed her buttocks. A beauty pageant contestant who says Trump kissed her repeatedly on the lips. A woman in New York who claims Trump did the same thing to her. And Jessica Leeds, who told the New York Times Trump groped her on a first-class flight in the early 1980s.
It was a real shock when all of a sudden his hands were all over me. I hesitate to use this expression, but I'm going to, and that is he was like an octopus. It was like he had 6 arms. He was all over the place.
Today portrayed the groping allegations as a coordinated strategy between the media and the Clinton campaign to keep him out of the White House.
This is nothing more than an attempt to destroy our movement and for the Clintons to keep their corrupt control over our government.
The Trump campaign sent a letter to the New York Times demanding a retraction. The Times declined, writing back, quote, "Nothing in our article has the slightest effect on the reputation that Mr. Trump, through his own words and actions, has already created for himself." Trump backer Jerry Falwell insists Trump has evidence to refute the women.
He was telling me all the evidence he has, email evidence, that these accusations from these ladies are untrue.
Trump told supporters at his rally he will make that proof available at an appropriate time soon. Many of his fans have faith.
We don't believe any of it. It's unimportant anyway because of the other important issues that are facing the country.
Just playing over and over the bashing of Mr. Trump. That's all we hear. It's not an election. It's a smash campaign.
I won't lose confidence because guess what? He's just a regular guy. He's not a politician. He's one of us. People make mistakes. You move on.
That was John Roberts reporting from Cincinnati. His live feed was taking a few hits there. A rather surprising development today for Governor Chris Christie, the head of Trump's transition team. A judge has ordered Christie to appear in court October 24th to answer a complaint of misconduct from a citizen who claims the governor knew about the closures on the George Washington Bridge and did nothing about them. Christie's office says the action comes from a serial complainer, and they're appealing the judge's order. The Trump campaign says there is no change in Christie's status as the head of Trump's transition team. Well, do you believe the accusations against Donald Trump? Let me know on Twitter at Bret Baier. You can use the hashtag special report or our Facebook page. We have newly released Clinton campaign emails to tell you about again tonight, and they continue to paint a less than flattering picture of the nominee and her top advisors. Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry is here to take a look. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Brett. These hacked emails continue to rock Clinton's campaign, showing her aides have privately shown some contempt for various blocks of voters, from Latinos to Catholics and now Southerners as well.
New details are spilling out about the campaign's response to Congressman Trey Gowdy, who issued a subpoena on March 3, 2015 for Hillary Clinton to preserve all emails and later demanded the private server on March 20th. Clinton spokesman Nick Merrill emailed colleagues that same day about having a vulnerability meeting earlier in the day with top advisors like Cheryl Mills. Merrill wrote the campaign should tell the press it was confident, quote, everyone will see that it's all there and then some in terms of official email. Later on March 20th, Clinton Chairman John Podesta reached out to the White House Chief of Staff. Podesta writing to President Obama's top aide Dennis McDonough, quote, free for a call? At the end of March, the IT firm that maintained the server used BleachBit to delete thousands of emails, according to the FBI, though there's no proof Clinton herself knew the emails were deleted after Gowdy's subpoena. And Clinton claimed ignorance when pressed by Fox at an August 2015 news conference.
Did you wipe the server?
what, like with a cloth or something?
There's also more evidence the Clinton camp tried to rig the primary process against Senator Bernie Sanders. In November 2014, campaign manager Robbie Mook emailed Podesta about moving the Illinois primary later than March to make it more favorable for Clinton. Mook writes about sweetening the pot for Illinois by giving them, quote, a bonus of 10% extra delegates if they move to April and 20% if they move to May. Mook added, the key point is that this is not a President Obama ask, but a Hillary ask, and the Clintons won't forget what their friends have done for them. The Illinois primary stayed in March, and Clinton carried it by 25,000 votes. And while her campaign boasts publicly about bringing people together, emails show in private Clinton officials attacked various Americans beyond the candidate's own comments about supporters of Donald Trump being a basket of deplorables. Clinton aides called backers of Sanders self-righteous whiners, referred to Hispanic party leaders like Bill Richardson as needy Latinos. Southerners were slammed when Podesta wrote about the 2015 Miss America pageant to liberal activist Neera Tanden. Podesta asking, quote, do you think it's weird that of the 15 finalists in Miss America, 10 came from the 11 states of the CSA, or Confederate States of America? Tanden shot back, not at all. I would imagine the only people who watch it are from the Confederacy. And by now they know that, so they've rigged the thing in their honor. There are also nasty clashes with Democrats like New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. When the mayor again declined to formally endorse Clinton, Mook wrote, wow, what a terrorist.
And as Bernie Sanders rose with that anti-Wall Street message, Clinton aides privately struggled to react, with chief strategist Joel Benenson writing, quote, do we have any sense from her, meaning Clinton, what she believes or wants her core message to be? A suggestion that even at the very top of the campaign, they didn't really understand why she wanted to be president. And yet here she is in our latest poll, winning, and the lead is expanding.
Yeah. The email stuff with the timing there is really interesting, ahead of that subpoena, ahead of her wiping the server. But there's also new developments on the investigation into the Clinton Foundation.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is it's coming from a surprising source, not a conservative critic, but the center-left Fusion.net doing a long investigation and finding that in Colombia, some of the Clinton Foundation work helped their friends get lucrative contracts instead of aiding poor people on the ground, similar to what we heard about Haiti. Clinton aides maintain they're proud of the work, but look at this email from campaign manager Robbie Mook to Cheryl Mills, October 2014. Quote, one question that's specific to the foundation, whether it will still have and or use her name, Clinton's, next year. Do you know what their plan is for that? It only matters for research and press purposes, i.e. it will invite press scrutiny, and she'll be held accountable for what happens there. Mook was certainly right about that, Bret. Scrutiny indeed, but we still don't know whether there's going to be accountability come November.
Okay, Ed, thank you. More on this with the panel. A couple of more information, emails about the foundation and money. Hillary Clinton is on the West Coast tonight, making appearances and raising money, but concerns are mounting among her team that Donald Trump might be trying to come out on top by taking the entire race to the gutter. Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel reports tonight from Beverly Hills.
Hillary Clinton is back in California, even though her win in the Golden State is not in doubt. She's raising major campaign cash and will do another friendly interview with Ellen DeGeneres to appeal to a daytime TV audience. Yet Clinton and her allies are worried her opponent, Donald Trump, is now running a race to the bottom to suppress voter turnout.
We cannot let this pessimism, this dark and divisive and dangerous vision of America take hold in anybody's heart.
The daily drip, drip, drip of campaign chairman John Podesta's email leaks are also a cause for concern. One July 2015 email from Podesta expressed anxiety about the criticism Clinton would face for the Iran nuclear deal. He worried about Republican Senator Lindsey Graham's attacks and ripped fellow Democrats, writing, quote, generally we are getting killed with Dems being weasels. Graham very strong on today. What about getting Biden to publicly debate him? Real Clear Politics average of recent polls in the Sunshine State reveals Clinton with a 2.7-point edge over Trump when Libertarian Gary Johnson and the Green Party's Jill Stein are included. While Clinton is out west, President Obama made this pitch on the radio in Miami.
The only way it gets in the bag is when Florida puts it in the bag. Once Florida is determined, that can determine the election.
That is a luxury Clinton enjoys. While she is raking in campaign cash, she has the president and first lady making the case for her. Bret?
Mike Emanuel live in Beverly Hills. Mike, thank you. Now to breaking news overseas as a tense situation is getting more so tonight. The U.S. Navy has destroyed 3 coastal radar sites in Houthi-controlled Yemen. The Houthis are backed up and funded by Iran. The U.S. strikes are retaliation for the targeting of Navy warships by missiles originating from that territory in Yemen. Iran is now responding by sending its own warships into that area. We have Fox team coverage tonight. Kevin Corke is at the White House, looks at what may be an increasingly aggressive foreign policy by a lame duck president. But we begin with correspondent Connor Powell in our Middle East newsroom tonight with a possible standoff off the waters of Yemen. Connor.
Bret, tensions are rising in the Red Sea, with the U.S. increasingly be drawn into a conflict between Saudi Arabian and Iranian-backed groups in Yemen.
Charred metal and smoking debris is all that remains of 3 coastal radar systems. The U.S. Navy today destroyed the advanced guidance equipment after they were used by Shiite Houthi rebels to fire missiles at the USS Mason off the coast of Yemen last week. No one was injured and the American warship was unharmed. But the Mason was forced to deploy onboard defensive measures in response to the attack. The Houthi rebels, who are linked to Iran but have widespread support in Yemen, denied firing the missiles and today offered to help investigate the attack. The Pentagon, however, made it clear who it holds accountable.
These strikes came from Houthi-controlled territory. They posed a threat to U.S. warships operating in the Red Sea, and we don't take that threat lightly, so we responded.
While it is clear the U.S. is not interested in becoming more entangled in Yemen, the Pentagon did say today if American ships are attacked once more, the U.S. would respond again. Today's strikes mark the first direct involvement by the U.S. in Yemen's long-running civil war, which is seen by many as a proxy fight between Saudi Arabia and Iran. However, the Obama administration has backed the Saudis in their fight against the Houthis, providing some logistics support and refueling Saudi warplanes. But the White House is also growing increasingly wary of the Saudi military operation, which has accomplished little and been criticized by human rights groups for large numbers of civilian deaths. Just last week, Saudi airstrikes killed more than 140 people when they bombed a funeral home in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. In response, the White House announced a review of America's support for the Saudi operation.
The situation in the Red Sea is not only becoming increasingly dangerous, but also potentially explosive. In addition to the U.S. fleet that's there, there are at least 2 Iranian ships, 1 Russian and 1 Chinese ship off the coast of Yemen. Bret?
Amazing. We'll watch that. Connor Powell live in our Middle East newsroom. Connor, thank you. Pro-immigration groups are trying to revive President Obama's deportation amnesty program. The Washington Times reports a lawsuit in Illinois contends a Texas judge's suspension of that plan and the Supreme Court's tie vote on the case do not create a national precedent. The president sought to grant work permits and extended stays to as many as 5 million illegal immigrants. Up next, another big supporter of Obamacare bails out. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 59 in Indianapolis with indictments against 4 men accused in a massive fraud and kickback scheme involving nursing homes and senior care facilities. The suspects allegedly made illegal profits in excess of $16 million by inflating costs for virtually any item or service required to run that healthcare operation. The men have pleaded not guilty. Fox 26 in Houston, as a 911 operator accused of hanging up on thousands of emergency calls, is charged with 2 counts of interference with an emergency telephone call. 43-year-old Krishanda Williams was reportedly involved in thousands of so-called short calls lasting 20 seconds or less between October 2015 and this March. The Houston Emergency Center fired Williams in August. Obamacare is taking heavy fire once again tonight from a prominent Democrat. Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton was an early champion of the Affordable Care Act. Now he joins others in the president's own party who are jumping ship. Correspondent Rich Edson is here to tell us what brought about the change. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Brett. And to save the Obamacare market in Minnesota, insurance companies say they need massive premium increases next year as they are losing hundreds of millions of dollars. And now the state's governor, a Democrat, says buying Obamacare insurance for many in Minnesota is just too expensive.
The reality is the Affordable Care Act is no longer affordable to increasing numbers of people. Minnesota is not alone in this. There are many other states that have experienced significant increases.
Minnesota insurance officials have approved premium increases from 50 to nearly 67% for individual plans next year. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota, the state's largest insurer, is significantly reducing its Obamacare presence, claiming, quote, based on current medical claim trends, Blue Cross is projecting a total loss of more than $500 million in the individual segment over 3 years. Governor Mark Dayton's acknowledgement in Minnesota matches former President Bill Clinton's in Michigan. He detailed problems for Americans who receive small or no subsidies to buy insurance, saying that leads to a crazy system with premiums doubled and coverage cut in half. And one health policy analyst says the Minnesota and Michigan experiences are problems nationwide.
The whole country is watching what's going on with Obamacare and the exchanges because everybody knows that you're just one paycheck away from being in Obamacare. So it's a big deal. And the people who aren't getting subsidies are just getting hammered by these rate increases.
The Obama administration points to the roughly 85% of Obamacare shoppers receiving some government subsidy to help pay these massive increases. In Minnesota, the administration refers to the state exchange, claiming, quote, as premiums increase, so does the amount of tax credits available to Minnesotans, meaning that in many cases, tax credits can lessen or completely eliminate large premium increases. Though that costs the government more money, and millions nationwide buy these individual plans without those subsidies, meaning they pay the full cost of these increases. That's why Democrats are now calling for more generous subsidies, the reinstatement of a provision that spreads the insurance company losses across the industry and federal government, and the introduction of a government-run insurance entity known as the public option. Brett?
Continue to follow this. Rich, thank you. Samsung is expanding the recall of its Galaxy Note 7 smartphones in the U.S. It will now include all replacement devices the company offered as a presumably safe alternative to the original phones, which could catch fire. It's not clear what is wrong with the replacements now. Samsung has already told customers to power down their phones and to stop using them. Florida health officials are identifying another Miami neighborhood as a Zika transmission zone. The governor's office says 5 people have been infected with Zika in a 1 square mile area of the city just north of the Little Haiti neighborhood. A large portion of Miami Beach still remains an active Zika infection zone. Stocks were off today. The Dow lost 45. The S&P 500 was down 7. The Nasdaq gave back 26. We are less than a week away from the final debate of the presidential season, and it has special significance here at Fox News. Media analyst and host of Fox's Media Buzz, Howard Kurtz, shows us why tonight.
With Donald Trump facing mounting accusations in the press of groping women and Hillary Clinton facing daily disclosures from hacked emails released by WikiLeaks, the candidates have one final shot at making their case to a mass audience. Next Wednesday in Las Vegas, they'll face off against each other and Chris Wallace. The Fox News Sunday anchor now has to deal with not just policy issues, but allegations of sexual assault against both the GOP nominee and the Democratic nominee's husband. And then there's the Trump factor.
You haven't seen anything like this.
No, because I've never seen a candidate like Donald Trump. That's what makes this so fascinating, and it's what's made the debates, and you know this from the 3 that we did, so challenging.
This marks the first time the Commission on Presidential Debates has tapped a Fox journalist for the general election. Wallace, widely viewed as one of the best interviewers in the business, had a successful career at NBC and ABC, from White House correspondent to Meet the Press moderator, before joining Fox 13 years ago. And like his late father, Mike Wallace, he favors a blunt style of questioning.
After a long investigation, FBI Director James Comey said none of those things that you told the American public were true.
Chris, that's not what I heard Director Comey say.
Do you worry that you're being used as a prop for black voters and that supporting Donald Trump will end up hurting your credibility in the black community?
It's not about me. It's a long time ago. It's not about me. It's about our nation.
Question, sir, with that record, why should we trust you to run the nation's business? This may sound harsh, but are you in the process of blowing your campaign for president?
I don't think so.
Wallace caused a stir by saying he doesn't view his role in a presidential debate as that of a fact checker, but adds that he'll step in with follow-ups when necessary. In these hyper-partisan times, every moderator this fall, Lester Holt, Elaine Quijano, Anderson Cooper, and Martha Raddatz, has faced plenty of criticism.
The larger challenge for Trump and Clinton is how to handle each other's increasingly harsh attacks and the new allegations about women and embarrassing emails. That means Vegas will be one final roll of the dice. Bret?
Something to see. Howie, thank you. This is a Fox News alert. Breaking news at this hour. We have just received a copy of Hillary Clinton's written answers to questions from Judicial Watch about her email scandal. You remember that Clinton was ordered by a judge to provide these responses. We are just going through them. Chief Legal Correspondent Shannon Bream has been going through them for the past few minutes. Shannon, what are we learning?
Well, there's a lot here, Bret, and as we go through what we just printed out, these many pages of questions that she was given, 25 questions from Judicial Watch. This represents the very first time, the only time that she has been given sworn testimony, because these questions are sworn testimony, with regard to setting up her email servers. Now, she objects to many of the questions. Many of her answers say simply that she objects. It's outside the scope and she won't answer. She's also asked numerous questions here about her emails. Did she know they would be subjected to FOIA or Freedom of Information Act requests? Did she know that they were being kept or cataloged in any way? It says in many of her answers that she assumed because the people she was emailing back and forth with were on the state.gov system, they were being cataloged there, and she does acknowledge that these emails would have been subjected to those FOIA requests. So she says that she knows about that. Now, she's asked specifically in one of the questions whether she was aware or warned at any time that there would be potential for hacking against her emails. And she says she does not recall being advised, cautioned, or warned during her tenure as Secretary of State about hacking or attempted hacking of her ClintonEmail.com email account or the server that hosted her ClintonEmail.com account. Now, this is the lawyer in me, but I want to think that we can parse some of these answers because she may have been more generally advised. We know that there were policies in place, warnings about secure systems, how to use things, where not to use your BlackBerries, those kinds of warnings. Her answer, though, in this question says that she doesn't recall being specifically advised about potential hacking to the Clinton email system. Well, if a lot of people didn't know about the Clinton email system, they wouldn't have advised her specifically about that. We know that she was part and parcel of sending out a warning to employees at one point, to all State Department employees, warning them that there were certain security precautions that they should take and they should know about. And so Judicial Watch asked specifically about that too. If you sent this out, I believe June 28th, 2011, when you're advising other people not to take these chances, then why were you doing so as well? So there's a lot to get through here. There are questions about her Benghazi testimony as well. We'll keep digging through and get back to you as soon as we get to more of those answers.
Yeah, if it pops up, come back to us. And you are one of the best at reading and interpreting legal documents on the fly.
We try.
After being outside the Supreme Court. I think we might learn a little bit more, perhaps, just listening to you from the WikiLeaks emails about the email server than perhaps these answers. But we'll keep on digging. Yeah. Shannon, thank you very much. Hillary Clinton builds on her lead, and Donald Trump fights back against new allegations of sexual assault. The panel discusses when we return.
Have you ever done those
women
things?
Have respect for me, and I will tell you, no, I have not.
Did he actually kiss you?
Yeah.
On the face, on the lips?
Wherever you could find a landing spot, yes.
These vicious claims about me of inappropriate conduct with women are totally and absolutely false. We already have substantial evidence to dispute these lies. It will be made public in an appropriate way and at an appropriate time. You take a look at her words. You tell me what you think. I don't think so.
The whole world has heard Trump brag about how he mistreats women, and the disturbing stories just keep coming.
Many of us were worried about our children hearing it when we turn on the TV. And to make matters worse, it now seems very clear that this isn't an isolated incident.
Well, just some of the sound today as we have these new allegations against Donald Trump, allegations that, as you heard, he strongly denies. We have new polls out today. These are post-debate polls, and you can see Hillary Clinton 45-38, and a shift here since October 3rd, the last time we polled. If you look among independents, that has really taken the biggest drop in this poll for Donald Trump, from 41 to 35 over the past few weeks. The opinion of the two candidates is also upside down, but more so for Donald Trump in this particular poll, the fave-unfave numbers. And finally, an interesting poll for Congress as we work to determine the balance of power. This is Democrat or Republican, and you can see the shift there. 48-42. Right before the break, we had Shannon Bream with the breaking news about the documents in the Judicial Watch case that Hillary Clinton answered. And again, these answers are under oath. We've been going through the answers. Shannon is back with us with the breaking details. Shannon, something interesting that Hillary Clinton answered here.
Yeah, and Bret, she was asked specifically in one of these questions after the lawyers completed the review of your emails in clintonemail.com, the account in late 2014, were the electronic versions of your emails preserved, deleted, or destroyed? If they were deleted or destroyed, what tool or software was used to delete or destroy them? Who deleted or destroyed them? And was the deletion or destruction done at your direction? Probably a reference there to that use of bleached bit that we've heard so much about that makes it virtually impossible for things to be recovered. She objects to the question being outside the scope of this case, but she does say, with that exception, she says it was her expectation that all of her work-related and potentially work-related emails then in her custody would be provided to the State Department in response to that request. She believes her attorneys retained copies of emails provided to the State Department in 2014, but doesn't have any knowledge about the details of that process. She decided once her work-related and potentially work-related emails were provided to the State Department, she had no reason to keep her personal emails, which did not relate to State Department business. And of course, there's been a big dispute about whether everything work-related was turned over. But the last sentence there says she believes that her personal emails were not kept, and she does not have any personal knowledge about the details of that process. So again, there she was asked point blank, did you tell someone to destroy them? What software was used? How was it done? Was it done at your direction? And she says she does not have any personal knowledge about the details of that process.
That's
first time we're hearing that.
Think about that. Under oath, she says she has no idea how the emails were erased and how BleachBit was used on her server. And this is after the FBI director, under oath to Congress, said they did find work-related emails on the server, and they know that she didn't turn over all the emails that dealt with stuff at the State Department. So this is under oath. I mean, what you're reading here is a under oath response to Judicial Watch.
Right. And again, what Judicial Watch had pushed for, what they wanted was an in-person deposition. That's the best case scenario when you're pursuing a case like this. The judge said, no, I won't let you do that, but she will have to answer these sworn questions as a sworn under oath. This is a court document now. Her camp celebrated at the time, saying we won this because she didn't have to give a deposition. At the same time, Judicial Watch was celebrating, saying, no, she's going to have to testify under oath. It's not the way, the medium in which we wanted her to do it, but we're still going to get these answers, and it's the first time again answering under oath about her server. And again here saying, I thought everything I had turned over was done and handled, so when it got down to personal emails, I didn't think anything else needed to be preserved, but I don't know the process of how they were deleted or destroyed. I don't know that they were. I didn't direct it.
And that's actually stunning. I want to keep you for 1 second. The emails from WikiLeaks, this is chain number 1. These are emails dealing with the server request from Congress. This is a subpoena that has now been issued. Nick Merrill says, I think we should avoid being no commented here, but we need some guidance, even if it's simply to say we've turned over all of her work email. Take the unprecedented step of asking the State Department to release it, and when we do, which we hope to be soon, we're confident that everyone will see that it's all there and then some. Philippe Reines, close associate of Hillary Clinton, responds, worth remembering, though, that Gowdy last week on the record said his committee doesn't have the authority to seek the server. And then after some back and forth about the language of the statement they were going to release, Nick Merrill sends back Cheryl's This is Cheryl Mills, Chief of Staff. Feedback was that the last line, "This goes far beyond the normal practice and anything further is simply playing politics," was too much, particularly based on the teachings of the vulnerability meeting today. So they had a vulnerability meeting about what they should release and what they shouldn't, what they should talk about, what they shouldn't. And this is once they have a subpoena and before the server is erased, and she's saying she doesn't know how any of that happened in sworn testimony.
And she's also asked specifically about Brian Pagliano. As people may remember, he apparently was part of an immunity deal, somebody who would have known about the handling of these things. She's asked specifically about that. Any communications between you and Brian Pagliano concerning or relating to the management, preservation, deletion, or destruction of any of your emails? And the question goes on a little bit, but that's basically it. Again, she objects to the question as being beyond the scope of the case, but ends with this. Secretary Clinton states that she does not recall having communications with Brian Pagliano concerning or relating to the management, preservation, deletion, or destruction of any emails in her ClintonEmail.com email account. Bret.
All right, Shannon, continue to go through that if you would. Thank you for the breaking news. We are going to take a break, and on the other side of the break, we'll bring in our panel for some analysis of what we just heard and the day's events.
It's not coincidence that these attacks come at the exact same moment and all together at the same time as WikiLeaks releases documents exposing the massive international corruption of the Clinton machine, including 2,000 more emails just this morning.
Donald Trump responding to these new allegations. We also heard from Hillary Clinton and the First Lady today with an impassioned speech about the allegations and about Donald Trump. Let's bring in our panel. Charles Lane, opinion writer for The Washington Post. Mercedes Schlapp, columnist for The Washington Times, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. First, Chuck, I want to talk about what we just heard and kind of what we're gathering about this email stuff. I mean, it seems pretty clunky, and some of the behind the scenes here suggest that it was very coordinated to figure out how not to answer the subpoena by Congress to turn over the server before it was erased.
The ins and outs of this, as we're right on top of the reporting of them, so we'll have to figure all that out as this story evolves. I think the number that's relevant to this comes from your poll today, which shows Hillary Clinton still at only 33% honest and trustworthy. Whatever comes out of this latest round on the emails, I don't see how you drive that number down a whole lot lower. In other words, what I'm saying is, politically, I think this whole thing has been processed, and not in a good way for her. But it also has to be weighed in context, the context being everything going on the other side with Donald Trump, which has been, if anything, a lot worse for him. So just as a political matter, again, bearing in mind that we may get a lot more clarity about this over the next day or two, I don't think this is a death blow for her or anything close.
Mercedes, these women have specific allegations. They say pretty much all of them said they were coming forward after the debate and what he said, answering that question, that it had never happened. We don't know the legitimacy of all of the claims, obviously.
Right.
He denies them strongly, but they're serious allegations.
Right.
And it's affecting his chances.
Well, every day that the media is focused on the topic of these alleged sexual assaults, and we're talking about the audio tape from over a week ago, every moment that is spent on this hurts Donald Trump, because it doesn't allow Donald Trump, and even Donald Trump is spending, I think, too much time even trying to take this story down and talking about this issue. It really pulls away from the fact of talking about the kitchen table issues like the economy and national security. And these stories, I mean, this is becoming like the political season of sexual behavior over talking about political issues, something that we haven't seen really in past election cycles. And they're having greater impact than, for example, the WikiLeaks emails that many of them are eye-opening, showing the two-faced approach of Hillary Clinton.
Charles.
I think we have an electorate that's beginning to feel soiled and in need of a shower. The hypocrisy and the real damage is to both parties in the political system. Think of the bilateral hypocrisy here. during the Clinton scandals, the Democrats insisted this is private stuff, none of your business, character isn't important, it's the delivery of goods, services, actions as president. And now, of course, they're shocked to find all this stuff with Trump. Trump himself parades out the women who accused Bill Clinton, and now he's responding to his accusers exactly the same way he says Hillary did at the time of the Bill scandals in the 90s. Neither party is clean on this. It's damaging to him because he's the guy on the spot. The allegations are fresh, even if the actions were old. People have heard and they've already factored in the Clinton scandals. And look, these numbers show that he got really badly hit and came back a bit as a result of the debate. But 7 points with 4 weeks to go back, which is what he is deadly.
Yeah. All right, let's look at Fox Poll 6. How concerned are you the scandals will have a serious effect on their administration? Clinton's very, 37%, Trump 44%. And there you see the breakdown, somewhat, not very, not at all. Chuck, we're also getting new details in these emails about the Clinton Foundation. Email number 4, Qatar offers $1 million for Bill Clinton's birthday. Last Thursday, April 12th, I met individually with the ambassadors of Qatar. Below is a summary of key points they'd like to see. WJC, William Jefferson Clinton, for 5 minutes in New York to present $1 million check that Qatar promised for WJC's birthday in 2011. There's other things from Colombia that Fusion is reporting of more evidence they suggest of this quid pro quo. But you have to get there in the details. It's a lot easier to go with the allegations that may be true, and these women are coming forward and standing by their accusations. Than to dig into some of the background details of the email scandal and the foundation scandal.
There is such a thing as an allegation that is both politically timed and motivated and true. And the problem for Donald Trump is that nothing the women who are coming forward now are saying appears out of character, because he himself was captured on tape in 2005 saying that's what he likes to do, grab women and so on and so forth. You're right, there is a kind of a disequilibrium or asymmetry here between the very complex inner workings of the Clinton Foundation and so on, and this highly dramatic stuff. On the other hand,